Hey guys, so I wanted to relay what we all know, most of us know has occurred, and what I think about it and all of that good stuff, and tell you what I've been doing. So, the earlier part of this week, I've been working on personal work related stuff, not related to the case. And then Thursday, Friday, I was going to start prepping some stuff for the lawyer meetings that I have next week. And in so doing, I first check my parody account email and I get a message letting me know that the Sv3rige channel has been reinstated. And I go and I type in Sv3rige and search and I don't see it. So I'm thinking maybe it's a prank or something. And then I check my comment section and I see those comments as well from people. And then I also look at Diane's channel and I see them there as well. So I start asking, I'm not finding it. And then I get someone sending me a link and I click on it and I see that video that he uploaded today and the reinstated channel. So I also see what Diane has to say about that and a few other commenters. So it's very interesting, and I want to kind of go over that, go over what it means going forward and all that good stuff. So let's get started on that. Firstly, Gatis Lagstans is a known liar. He's a known scam artist, and he is a fugitive. So let's take with a grain of salt what he tells us. Now, I remember in the way back asking the question to my audience because I wasn't a person who was a subscriber of his, and there were maybe some gaps where I didn't see things. So I asked people if they knew for sure that he was banned, since when I put it into my case, it's not a large part of my case, but it's one aspect that he is a ban evader if he was indeed banned, and then what he was indeed banned for, matters as well, because this is a contract law thing. They're violating my rights as a contract holder and all of our rights as contract holders by giving him special privileges if he was banned. So I wanted to make sure that there wasn't a possibility of him lying about being banned, since he lies all the time. And he claims to have been banned from YouTube, Patreon, and PayPal all around the same time. So Diane brings up him being a liar and that this could be him putting it on private. Now, when I asked this in the way back, people told me, no, 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 because when I click on the channel, it tells me that YouTube banned it for community guidelines violations. So I took their word for it, and that may be the case, but also some people are saying some interesting things. So one person mentioned that when he went and looked at the page and it would tell him that it was banned for community guidelines violations, that it also would show he was subscribed still, which shouldn't be the case. So that's all very weird and interesting. It's not beyond Gatis Lagstans to lie and to say that he was banned when he was not. It doesn't change all the other aspects of the case whatsoever, but once again, it does bring up that issue. So I never knew for sure. I just thought it was more likely than not. And it was up to YouTube during the investigative period to bring that up and say, hey, they could have told me, hey, we didn't ban him, but they didn't do that. And they're not doing that in the courtroom. But this could be, if it's them reinstating the channel, a strategy. Also, you got to realize that just 6 or so days ago, Diane sent a letter to the parent company of Google, Alphabet Inc. And before that, she sent her legal notice to YouTube Google. So all of this is very interesting timing after 3 years. It's extremely unusual for a channel to be reinstated after that many years. What usually happens is, if a channel, and I've had this experience, so I know something about what he said, about what they said to him, that will be interesting. So he says, he's also saying like he didn't think to appeal it. Is he kidding? First of all, I know for a fact that when it was taken down, he was on the Goatis channel, whining and bitching and moaning with his hairline tattoo with Belle. They were on the park bench bemoaning why in the world could it have gone down. And she, starts saying, the one time she speaks up for a moment, and tries to actually talk. And she says, I think it could be your A Woman's Purpose video. And then he tells her basically to shut the F up. It's not that, And so she shuts the F up, and he continues rubbing his head and whining. And he has videos where he asks people who have legal knowledge to help him. And I was sitting there watching that, knowing I have some legal knowledge on battling YouTube, and I didn't want to help him. And I didn't know the half of what he was out there doing, but I knew what he already had done with, Jazz and Catherine and all of that. And Diane up to that point, which did not at that point include all of this other stuff. So, but it was already bad enough. I wouldn't have helped him. But anyway, that's what he was doing. He was trying to find a way to get his channel back, supposedly. So he definitely would have known to make an appeal. So you have like 90 days on the community guideline strikes, but you have like 21 days after a channel is taken down. And then after that 21 days, that's it. Like if it's all the way taken down, you have 21 days. And I think if they're warning you that in 7 days it'll be taken down, or they're warning you it's going to be taken down, you have like 7 days. So there's guidelines to all this stuff. Occasionally, long time past ban channels have come back, and it's usually because the user makes an appeal. The platform wouldn't usually approach them offering them an appeal. So that's kind of what he's claiming happened. He all of a sudden got approached to appeal. So I'll talk about that in a second. But the way it normally would happen would be they would appeal, and then the company might look at it if they've had for example, some guidelines changes that change things. They might reinstate the channel, and a few times have. It's very unusual. So if they approached him with the opportunity to appeal, if they even are the ones who took the channel down, then that only goes along with proving up why they're doing it all of a sudden. And their thoughts are a couple things. First, let's talk about my case. Number one, the one problem I'm having in my case that we're not overcoming all the way, and it's very hard to overcome it. It's what makes this a case set precedent. Everything else about the case, we would definitely be litigating if I were the direct victim. The one problem I have is establishing that I have legal standing. They're not even looking at the facts of the case yet. And one way that the judge was interested in related to my legal standing was him being a ban evader and violating the contract law, and me being a contract holder. Because that's one of my arguments, is that as a contract holder who uses the services of YouTube and Google, I'm not allowed to have 2 channels where one was banned, and then I have a second one. I'm not allowed to promote child sex abuse material on my channel and have a channel. I'm not allowed to be wanted for terroristic endangerment of a child, terroristic crime against a child where I raise funds on a platform. That's banned by way of case law and statutory law, et cetera, et cetera. That gives me standing potentially, and so this might remove some of that. They're hoping. And then with Diane, it would be similar. Her letters cite some crimes that they've committed, crimes that Sv3rige committed, but that they would be committing in aiding and abetting more of it on the second channel. So they might want to make it look like they never had any obligations on the first channel. So, hiding behind Section 230 on some of that, pretending they didn't need to know, they think that might help them if all of a sudden the channel is back. If they indeed are the ones that did this, that might be a strategizing thing with relation to her case as well. It would not ultimately work because there's going to be a record. What happens in litigation is you're going to do interrogatories. The other thing that won't work is where Gatis is scrubbing all the content. So like, here's only like a few live streams up, a lot of videos taken down and stuff. That wouldn't work. He definitely violated more than community guidelines. When he doxed and told his followers to go and commit crimes in filing false reports against Diane and defamed her, when he violated the COPA Act, which she brings up in one of her legal letters against her child. And what that is the Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act, when he doxed the little boy. Just that alone, and it's such a small drop in the bucket of criminality, is enough to give the platform liability for being put on notice about that and reinstating a channel. But they have their purposes in so doing if they did that. It only makes them look worse. And here's the other funny thing. Gatis wants to be this, promote the idea that he is this natural man who is above corporate slavery. The flip side is he also talks up the elites, who are the most unnatural and evil people on earth, and then he tries to talk up that they're the most natural. It's all very mindfucky. So the reality of it is that, this corporation, this mega corporation, someone like Gatis is their corporate slave. He needs them to provide him with a place to do what he does, which is manipulate people and lie and scheme. And, people like myself don't need that. I don't care what YouTube thinks of me. I don't care if they promote me. I don't care if they like me. I don't like them as a corporation. I do like the stuff that they provide when it's good, when it's what it should be. I think it's good. I also think freedom of speech is very important. I know mine has been stepped on quite a bit, and I know other people's has been as well. But some things are not free speech. Some things we've collectively decided as human beings when it comes especially to children. It's why these statutes have been passed, to protect them above the way we protect adults. We give platforms a lot of immunity to host whatever they want and for creators to create whatever they want, but it's within the framework of, sanity. If you want to sexually abuse children or terrorize children, we're all against that collectively, and your free speech rights end right there. And the platform's rights to host you end as well. So that's not changed. Them doing this changes nothing, or him doing this changes nothing. And the shit-eating grin that he's got on his face and this slap happy, like, look at this victory, means nothing. And if the platform did it thinking it will deter people, it won't. Because, I looked at things like, look at Michael Morton, for example, a man who was wrongfully convicted of murder, and he served 18 years. And he had enough money and help at that point in time that they had tested some evidence. They had DNA that proved he was innocent, and it proved who did the crime. But it would take a while to go through the rigmarole of getting all of that proven up. So they offered him an Alford plea. And what an Alford plea is it's where the court says, you'll still have this conviction over your head when we let you out, but we'll let you out. But you'll be convicted and we won't admit any wrongdoing and you can't sue us. But you'll get out. You want to get out? And he said no. He wanted to go the whole long haul. And he did that, and it took him up to the 25-year in prison mark before he could get out. But when he got out, he was awarded $3 million, which for what they did to him isn't enough. And everybody knows all the horrible stuff that they did to him, and he no longer has that conviction over his head. He's a free man who's not a convict. So, look at what they'll put you through, but you do win in the end. And, Gatis Lagstons, his hero, Richard Ramirez, a brain-injured child who, ended up being executed, he'll get to go on a trip to Disneyland someday, just like Richard. And if he thinks that's his big shebang glorious way out, then so be it. But he's the one who's against nature here, and he's the one who's on the side of the mega corporations here, and he's the one who's the corporate slave here. And Gatis Lagstons, he also wants to promote that people that learn how to do anything, like with law or something, that were slaves. And the reality is that he's learned how to do nothing but be the slave of a mega corporation. So also the verbiage in that letter that Gatis is saying that they sent to him, when he cites that he made the appeal and here's what they sent back to me. We sometimes make mistakes, but then we try to correct them if we can, and blah, 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 blah. He tries to make it sound like he made this really glorious appeal and then they wrote him this personalized letter. That's not how that is. If that even happened that way, that's basically a standard form letter. I got one time. So I have a normal person channel where I don't really do that much content. But a few years ago, my friend and I, we did some videos where we were interviewing each other back and forth about some political stuff. And then I also played a song on my piano. That's all that was on my channel, just for fun, to do. And I see that my channel was taken completely down for community guidelines violations. And so I said, I asked him, well, what violations? Was it like a copyright thing about the song? Because other people play that song, I couldn't imagine. And nothing inappropriately worded was said on our interviews, except that we were talking about topics that might be controversial, but the way we were talking about them was appropriate, I thought. So they write me back and say, oh, hey, sorry, we will reinstate your channel. We try our best to get it right, but sometimes we make mistakes, blah, blah, blah. And it happened very quickly, within a few hours. So that's a standard form letter language that they use. It's not this big personalized thing. But so no, a person didn't go into this deep inquiry into his channel and then decide they'd make some terrible, terrible oversight mistake. And they personally wanted to, let him know that his appeal was just wonderful and they were just so wrong. That's not what that is at all. So it's either the corporation sending him an appeal form, getting him to fill it out so they can do this to help with their case against my case and Diane's case, more importantly, Diane's case, or he's just flat out lying and he privatized the channel himself and it was never banned. One or the other. That won't matter in relation to my case because it's not the only thing that this hinges on whatsoever by any means. It's even one of the smaller things. What we do know is all the stuff we know, which matters so much more than that. So this channel being back doesn't change any of that. It won't make anybody not know what he is and what he's done. Also, him scrubbing the content does not matter. If we get into litigation and do get into the facts, there can be interrogatories done during the discovery period, and they have to provide those videos, and those videos exist. So that can be done no matter what he does now with the channel. Same thing goes with, of course, if Diane were litigating. And like I said, I've never known if I'll get into deep litigation because we're trying to get past the legal standing point. That's what makes my case set precedent. It means that in the future, third parties can bring cases about things like this that they see. But you do have to establish some sort of standing, and even in a public interest case. And the judge is, wavering toward my side, but just not all the way. And so we're having one hearing, and then two hearings, and then three hearings. And I'm hoping after the third hearing, we will get into litigation. And same thing goes with Diane would not have any issue with legal standing. But look at what all she's dealing with. When I started this process, she was doing the hearings with Ilias, and he's appealing. She's got to deal with that. She's got to deal with hiding with her child while this asshole evades arrest in plain sight and raises money on platforms to terrorize a child and his mother. So with a child who's endangered in his care, by the way. These are the things that make this case unusual. Terrorism against a child, the child with them, who is considered a missing child by way of law, actually, and an endangered child with two wanted fugitive parents in Europe. And we have to uphold Europe's laws. They actually, as a social media platform and a tech company, have to turn that in. It's not even just a matter of banning the channel. In fact, getting rid of channels is secondary. It's a secondary issue in my case and in hers as well. That's just a funding aspect. We don't want him to rope in any more people for scams and get any more money. And we don't want him to keep having money to evade arrest and hide that child with him or hurt the one he wants to hurt, is wanted for trying to kill. So those are the things that are the issue. It's more about turning him in and more about stopping him than, not having a channel. That's not having a channel is just to keep him from committing crimes, continuing to commit them. And another thing also that's important about that is that them playing host to scams and endangering the American public plays into the ATA law stuff. And making money off of content like that, that's one thing that the judge was the most interested in, to the point where he wanted to have me potentially amend the writ and have that be what the whole purpose of litigating is. And he's still weighing that out. He asked me if I'd be amenable to doing that, and I said yes. And she said she didn't want me to, but that's on the table as something he's thinking about right now. So yeah, all of this is still the same. In my mind, if they sent him an appeal form and did this, it just points to their guilt. 6 days after Diane writes to the parent company of Google, yeah, duh. So no, it changes nothing, and there's nothing for him to celebrate. He just temporarily has two channels again. He's still a slime ball. People still know about it, and nothing has changed, and people like him don't end up too well usually. In the long run, it is what it is. We're on the right side of nature and history here. And he's still a slime ball who's being given access to potentially innocent victims who won't know the history here, who could be opened up to harm. That can bring criminal charges against the platform and its CEOs in the future if they knowingly did that and anybody gets hurt, even just knowingly doing that. And you got to realize people will think, well, wow, if YouTube is doing this, they must know what they're doing. They're a big mega corporation. They do dumb shit like this all the time and pay for it. Did I not mention Toyota in the past? Their gas pedals were sticking and people died. So did they recall the car? No. They simply paid out death lawsuits every time someone died and filed one because it was cheaper than recalling the car and stopping killing people. So this is sort of a similar principle here. There's no question they know about all of this. We've put it all in their face. They know what we know, and they are not doing what they should do. So there's a why, and it's related to money and liability. And bigger why is it's related to future litigation they don't want to ever have to deal with. They don't want to ever have to deal with anybody like me again, thinking that they can see something and say something and expect an action, because they're worried about that. And and that's already law. They have to make an action when it's child sex abuse or terrorism against a child. So the only way they can keep it out of court is on legal standing. And that could happen. It won't make me wrong. It won't make me sorry I did it. It's worth a try to do it. And we're still going to try to do it. And what Diane is doing is wonderful and certainly worth doing as well. Nobody here has lost. He's still evading arrest. He still can't live stream, and he can't go wherever he wants and say where he is and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a reason why. And we all know the reason why. And so do they. So to me, this system is very backwards that we live under. The people that are running it are the most unnatural people in the world who shouldn't be running things. Gatis kind of tries to promote two things at the same time, very hypocritically, like he is a very natural person who is not in sync with the people running the show. Then the flip side is he tries to make it clear that the people running the show, the elites, are people he admires and wants to be in sync with. In reality, they are very unnatural, sick, predatory people who shouldn't be running anything, and he is in sync with them. That part is correct. He has a lot in common with this mega corporation. He has a lot in common with the lawyer for YouTube and Google. You can use law just like you can use this platform. You can use it for evil, garbage, or you can use it for something really valuable and cool. So learning law isn't what makes you a slave. And let me guarantee you that looking at their cease and desist letter, Gatis couldn't write a wonderful appeal if he needed to, or a cease and desist letter properly or anything else. So he doesn't know how to use law. He's hinging on the fact that, there's somebody that's just as slimy as he is worried about their own well-being. And so in protecting themselves, they inadvertently are protecting him to some degree, if they are indeed even doing this. So that's the situation there. And then also promoting such unnatural things because your brain's all screwed up, as wanting to basically marry your own kid in multiple videos. And by the way, if what you're doing is so righteous, why hide those videos? Why hide the one video I brought up multiple times in my court case on your Rumble channel? Your Rumble channel has all your other videos, and you had that video for a long time. You only took it down when we were having our second hearing. Why take it down at all? Being a hypocrite, being a coward, you know, including being a physical coward. The only people you ever physically attack are women, and even then, you a lot of times don't do the attack on your own, do you? You hire it done by somebody else. Will all come out in the wash. Things usually do. And it does not bode well for people like this. It just does take time, though, sometimes. And it's shocking how much has to go on first. So you just have to not let it deter you. Things being used as a deterrent or a temporary, taunting kind of thing from a malicious person. His silly taunting doesn't matter. Once again, not caring what YouTube thinks of you, also not caring what he thinks of you, or anybody that would be admiring of him. My God, nobody would care about that. And I certainly don't care what his sock puppets think of me. So it's all just very pathetic. It's stuff that even a emotionally mature and well-adjusted 12-year-old wouldn't engage in for very long. So, that we even have to do this much to get a corporation to put a stop to this is outrageous. It will look outrageous the longer it goes on. So we'll just continue with this. It's, something we're doing, and it's going to be ongoing. It's just another weird turn it's taken, and it doesn't mean anything with regard to the success or failure of the ultimate endeavor, which is to stop and find them. So everybody take care, and I'll update you guys on what's going on next week with the case. And we'll just keep watching this stuff. And please keep watching and supporting Diane's channel. There also is a network of criminality aspect to some of this that I will be going into in the future. Just have to kind of figure out how to approach that properly, but definitely something that can be tied in here and needs to be. And it affects also what the corporations are liable for their role they're playing and playing host to that. So everybody take care, and I'll talk to you as soon as I can. Have a good one. Bye-bye.